Manor House School in North Dublin passes into a new century, and we stop and take a look. The school initially catered for primary and secondary pupils when it was opened on the 8th of September 1953 by the poor servants of the Mother of God at the invitation of the Archbishop of Dublin, Dr. John Charles McQuaid. Much has changed since then. Today the school has 858 students and over 60 staff. There is no longer a junior school, but the secondary school is the largest of all girls' secondary schools in the area. Over the years, many people have passed through the gates of Manor House. Some of its former students have wonderful memories of the time they spent there.
At this stage, when you're gone from school for more than 25 years, there are times where the entire 5-year period merges into sort of a nice, sort of warm, comfortable feeling. I was bought a bike by my mum for the princely sum of £5, and it had an enormous saddle, and it was a big old red bike with a lovely basket on the front of it. And I used to cycle through St. Anne's Park, gathering the Aileen O'Tooles and the Lillises and whoever else along the way. And each day we cycled there and back. And I think that the fun that we had during those times were so precious and so lovely, and they were such carefree days.
I wasn't the world's greatest genius, I'm afraid, when it came to the academic end of it, but I loved painting. And I must say the nuns were very far ahead of the time, because they let me give up Irish, which was a no-no in those days. And I did much more art classes than anybody else. And that was my plan, to go ahead and do art. But my happiest memories would be the cookery class on a Friday. I loved doing that. And as it just so happens, it's probably been the best thing ever, having 6 kids now, to learn how to cook.
I suppose Manor House School has been part of my life for so long. 5 years as a student, 11 years as a teacher. Still part of my life because I'm an SMG and it's part of our congregation. Manor House in many ways is, in a sense, a little bit like home. It's a place of very happy memories. I suppose I was always aware of it being a place that went back for so many years. So many women walked those corridors. So many women matured in that building. And that kind of memory and tradition that comes with a place is invaluable. And I hope that there will be generations of Manor House women for many, many years.
If I had to sum up my memories of Manor House, or how I feel about Manor House when I go past, usually I'd be in the company of somebody else from the school, and invariably I would think innocence and days of innocence, because we had such fun, and we used to play the sports and get involved in various things, but just great fun. And the other thing I would say about Manor House is that if you had a niche at all that you were going to fit into, Manor House was going to find it, because it was a great school for giving you all the opportunities, all the languages, all the sciences, music, sing out, sloga, absolutely everything. Everybody found a place, even a school paper. And so I think I look back fondly and think it gave me all the chances to do well.
Manor House was good to me, and I fought to get there because I gained entry to 2 schools, one that was much closer to our home in Clontarf. But I had a notion that I wanted to go to Manor House, and convinced my parents. It meant making an extra effort, getting up a bit earlier, making an effort to get there. So I suppose then I was determined to get the best out of it. And I did well there. I was involved in debating, and I was in choirs, and I was in all that kind of thing. Not a great sportswoman, never was, but did well on the other side of it. So I enjoyed my time there.
One of the key aspects of any school is the quality of its educators. Manor House has been particularly lucky with some of its teachers over the last half-decade, whose dedication remains fresh in the memories of its former students.
One teacher who really influenced me would have to be Miriam Hart, who was my home economics teacher. Although it wasn't my strongest subject, when I got my place in art college, she sent me a lovely congratulations letter. She was always there to really encourage, her in particular. And 10 years later, she saw a photo of me in a newspaper article and very kindly sent me in a letter just wishing me all the best in my career.
Manor House were fortunate enough to have the incredible Una Parker as a drama teacher there. And Una was an extraordinary woman, because when we went in, and my first encounter with Una was in first year, and it was in those days that were trying to get us to to speak properly, as all young ladies should. And the first thing Una taught us was, my papa's car is a Jaguar and he drives rather fast.
Some enduring friendships have been made at Manor House. Friendships which have remained solid over the years, even though life has taken people in many different directions.
I made great friends in Manor House, and I've kept a lot of those friendships still. There were a few of us that used to play tennis together and used to chat together before school and that. And to this day, we still meet up regularly, and always what happens is we'll say go to some girl's house for a night. Night might start off a bit slow while we catch up and things, but invariably, before the night is out, we'll talk about our school days, and that's when the riotous laughter starts.
The friends I made in Manor House have remained friends to this day. Unfortunately, some of them live abroad. Well, fortunate for them, but unfortunate for trying to keep friendships going. Mary Hegarty is lecturing in Santa Barbara, and anytime she comes home, it's a great excuse for the rest of us to get together. Mary Isaacson is out in Australia. Liz Cowap, who's again one of my best friends from those days, thankfully is in Dublin, and we meet quite frequently.
The friendships I made at Manor House have stayed with me since I left school. My friends are extremely important to me, and probably a very small group that I stay in touch with, but they're a key group of friends. We're all doing very, very different things, and we were all very different people with different influences and different tendencies, but that in no way takes from the fact that we can all sit down and have a beer now and pick up where we left off.
Being a Manor House girl has always meant more than just being a student. Many of the disciplines pupils learned there remain an integral part of their lives today.
A lot of the rules may have seemed petty at the time, but it just didn't do us any harm to have that sense of discipline and have a sense of having rules to stick to and stick by. And there was certainly, I mean, I hear some girls talking about being groomed for marriage and groomed for, you know, we weren't. We were encouraged. We were always encouraged, and it was talked about going to college and talked about going on and talked about having careers and stuff like that. So I think they were, you know, the nuns were good. They were pushing us out there and, you know, would constantly talk about others who had gone on to achieve ahead of us and all of that. So there was certainly, I mean, it was the early 70s, but there was certainly great encouragement for us.
One thing I've carried from Manor House with me into my professional life would have to be a very strong work ethic. And Manor House gives you a sense of discipline and gets you up on time, gets you keep working, and I think it's just hard work and effort that's got me to where I am now.
What you carry are things like confidence that I developed through things like debating. Kind of openness, I think, that the school encouraged. I mean, at the time when I was at school, I was a prefect at a later stage when I was in sixth year, and I mean, we were encouraged to go along by the head teacher to the Union of School Students when they were starting off. I mean, at the time, other head teachers were trying to stop all their pupils getting involved in these things. We had elected, prefects were elected actually by vote of pupils and teachers at the time, rather than by nomination by teachers, and I think there was an openness to new ideas even within quite a structured secondary school, which it was at the time.
School uniforms always stir emotions. Most of the girls at Manor House have fond memories of how they wore their uniform.
I suppose, like every kid, we did everything the opposite to what the nuns wanted, and we rolled up the skirts behind their back, and walking down the road would take off the berry and all of that. But actually I loved the school uniform, the silver grey. I don't know whether, again, it's the same now, but I loved the colours of it, and I was very proud.
I thought the uniform was great. I thought the colours suited most people. The uniform is very strictly adhered to as well in Manor House. If you had the wrong colour jumper, you had to wear it under your blouse, which sounds a bit odd, but that was the rule. I thought as well it was nice the way the sixth years introduced a navy jumper and socks. And I'm sure that was done to distinguish them from the other pupils, but now, to this day, if I see a Manor House girl in a navy jumper, what I think is, oh, poor thing, she's facing her leaving cert this year.
I wore it very hickily actually, because I was delighted to tie my gabardine at the front and wear my berry. And there were others who couldn't wait to get out the school door and roll it up as high as they could roll it. And I have one abiding memory of one particular girl in our year. I don't think she was in our class, but she rolled her skirt up so high that one of the nuns pinned newspaper to the bottom of her skirt and made her go around with the newspaper clinging to her legs for the entire day.
The school has always encouraged its students in their chosen career paths and nurtured individual talents. When they look back now, the former pupils see how important that care was.
My last couple of years I had planned to go on and do art because the nuns did push me and they were marvellous, and the art teacher in the school was very, very good. But particularly my last year and a half of school, I entered a few talent competitions, and also in that time we were doing concerts. In the last couple of years of school particularly, we were doing brilliant school concerts, and the nuns were marvellous. They spent a lot of time and money and you know, all the stage hands, like we'd be involved, the kids in the school, you know. So there was a combination of all that artwork and the singing came into it, and I didn't realise I was getting a taste for show business.
I always enjoyed writing, and I probably was given a chance to do a bit of creative writing in school, although I haven't subsequently written creatively. But I enjoy writing for the sake of writing, and I think that probably started in school. And I think we had a very good English teacher, Mrs. Walsh, who really instilled a love of books on me and others as well. And I think she's probably partly responsible for my chosen career.
We were taught what was called then commerce up to the intercert, and doing things like the competition for the entrepreneur of the year and doing the mini company, that has definitely stayed with me. And the whole thing of winning, when we won that prize, I think, you know, you felt like you were on a winning team, and I think it gave you great confidence then to go and say, well, I can do this, you know, and this is something that I actually have a bit of an inclination for, and that has definitely stuck with me.
Well, I suppose the thing that I loved most at school and loved the way it was approached and loved the teaching of it was drama and was English, taught by Una Parker and by Mrs. Walsh. And both of them just opened up a door in my mind that was extraordinary. And I think it is interesting that you could sit for hours and weeks and days and years in an English class approaching English in a very dry and dull way, but when somebody brings it to life on the page through dramatic form, the poems that I learnt and remembered, the dramatists that I was introduced to, the plays that I read at a very early age in school, really did shape me. It did shape my career.
After 5 years in Manor House, how did the girls feel when the time came to say their goodbyes and move out into the bigger world?
I suppose I was ready to leave school when it came to it, but I don't think I was particularly rushing out into the world. I think I was quite sad to be leaving people and maybe nervous of what I was going on to, and I think I felt quite safe and secure at school.
The day that we left Manor House was a brilliant day. I actually remember it really clearly. We were really giddy, as you can imagine. The leaving cert was just around the corner. We were about to graduate. It was just, everyone was on a total high. We were laughing at stupid things, yet with this sense amongst us that, you know, this was it, and we were all going to split up. And we did know then that there would only really be a few of you that you would keep in constant contact with.
I was glad in that it was the end of an era. It was time to move on. There was the excitement of what life was going to bring. I did leaving at 16. The world was my oyster. I couldn't wait to get going on what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And yet there was a sadness of leaving what was known, what was secure, what was very happy time, and leaving many friends.
So what advice would Manor House's former students have for its present pupils taking on a new century?
To the girls in Manor House taking on a new century, I would say to them, just keep a sense of humour. Don't get bogged down in the seriousness of everything. Enjoy life.
I feel sorry for anybody who really hates school, because there is a lot to be gained if you can just relax and enjoy it. But at the same time, be open and be prepared to move on when that time comes too.
I think it is a great time. I think it's a very formative period in anybody's life. And I just think, you know, get all the experience, try out everything, even sport. Some people who might start out not liking sport might end up being sports people at the end of it. It wasn't for me. But I think there's a great chance to sample a lot of different disciplines and then decide what it is that you like.
I think I'd say, you know, don't agonise too much, go for it, enjoy life, enjoy your time at school, and I think benefit from it. I mean, don't get too focused on points. Academic results are important. I mean, they're a gateway, but it is important as well that you make friends, that you learn to get on with people, that you enjoy the sports or debates or music or whatever options are there, because it may not come to you as quickly or as easily again.
Just remember that it's up to you. If you really believe in it enough, if you want to do something badly enough, just follow your dream. And it sounds a corny thing to say, but unless you have a dream, you can't even expect to get halfway there. And I would say it's up to you. If it's to be, you know, you can make it happen.
I would hope that they would enjoy the time of youth from 12 to 18, which is a very precious time when there's no worry of mortgages, when there's no after hours that has to be done at work, to enjoy time, to take time.
If they could understand how precious those years are, and if they could understand and appreciate how precious that learning environment is, and to find their own place within it, and to respect it and for it to respect them, and to enjoy it and have fun, is probably the most important thing. Irrespective of their results or the pressures that the point system puts on them, to find their own space, to express themselves, however that may be.
As Manor House moves into a new century, school principal Mary-Claire O'Malley sums up the importance of the pupils to the success of the school.
Really, the students are the heartbeat of the school, the core of the school, and without them we'd have no atmosphere, we'd have no cut and trust, we'd have no learning environment. So they're really the raison d'etre behind the school. I think Manor House has the ability to raise you up, and it has the ability to make you feel as somebody.